correct one. Today, a registered nurse, nobody thinks that a registered nurse has not gone through specific training and has passed an exam. And the same thing with the registered sanitarian. So registered sanitarian, certified industrial hygienist are pretty much interchangeable terms these days, being certified or being registered. Okay? So if you are registered, then it is a mark of professional competence. And a person has to a person becomes registered by demonstrating that you have achieved sufficient mastery of the field through either formal education and passage, usually both, passage of a proficiency examination. So how does one become registered? In Washington, unfortunately, we do not have an official state registration program. That was sunsetted promptly after I came to the state. I don't know whether there was a connection or not, but the legislature sunsetted the State Registration Act. So, because we don't have a state registration act or a state registration board, at least not a government board, but some of the agencies still require registration, either as a condition of employment or after you must become registered after being employed for some period of time, 6 months or a year, or you need to be registered in order to be eligible to get promoted to the next step. So there's still a variety of reasons why one might want to be registered in Washington. In some other states, there's a requirement that you have to be registered in order even to begin working as an environmental specialist in the job. So there are a number of reasons for becoming registered. And in Washington, there were two distinct ways which have now become sort of blended. The first was the Washington State Board of Registered Sanitarians. An unfortunate name because it sort of has the implication that it's part of the department or one part of the licensing services, but it's not. It's a freestanding, private, non-profit professional registration board, much like the Bar Association. So that's one way, is to take their exam, pass their exam, and become registered by the State Board of Registered Sanitarians. The other way is through the National Environmental Health Association, which has in recent years developed its own examination and has been working to make that sort of the gold standard. So the Washington State Board of Registered Sanitarians exam, like I say, it was formed about 30 years ago. The board was formed when the Washington State Legislature sunsetted the old RS board. It was founded by a group of sanitarians, mostly from local and state health agencies in Washington. And the Washington State Environmental Health Association actually provided the funding to pay for the attorney to do the incorporation and the development of the program. The State Board of Registered Sanitarians uses a multiple choice examination. It used to use one that was developed by the Professional Examination Service. That's why I say that they used to be distinct. But about 5 years ago, they switched over to using the NEHA exam. So, in a sense, it doesn't matter whether you go through the Washington State Board of Registered Sanitarians or NEHA, you're going to be taking the same 250 question examination. So let's talk about the NEHA exam. NEHA has developed, and we're actually on the second major go-around for this. They did contract with a private concern to develop an exam. That exam was sort of less than desirable, and so they've now developed their own. And many of the states in the United States that have an official registration act or official registration program use the NEHA exam, and Washington is one of those. The exception would be California, which has its own and always has had its own registration act and procedures. And so anything that I say is probably applicable to the other 49 states, but California is unique. The test is comprehensive in nature, covers all of environmental health, and hopefully contains questions that are relevant to today's environmental health activities and programs. I guess I should say something about, we typically encourage our students to take the NEHA exam through the National Environmental Health Association. And the reason for that is that the state RS board will not let you sit for the exam until you actually have your diploma in hand. You have to give them a copy of it. So the NEHA will allow you to take it technically the last quarter of your senior year. And there's a little bit of flexibility in there. They don't check that too. But the idea is that you should be at the end of your academic program, at least as far as the bachelor's degree is concerned. And you can take NEHA. Each year, NEHA provides an examination session just before their annual conference, which this year is going to be June 22nd in Albuquerque. If you're not planning on going to the NEHA meeting, it's a little expensive to fly down there just to take the exam. You can take the exam at a professional examination type places that are located around the country. They've just changed their contract, and the new one is, I believe, VUE, V-U-E. It used to be, I don't even remember what it was. But the one that we're most interested in is the fact that I can give the exam to our students or graduates here at the UW at any time we mutually agree upon. And that makes it sort of desirable. And so I'm going to try to arrange a date for spring if we can do that. Warning is the exam is not easy. It's 250 multiple choice questions. There will be some calculations on it. You may have to be able to calculate the desired chlorine concentration for a swimming pool. So they give you the length and depth, and they usually have one that has a sloping bottom, so you've got some tricky calculations. But that's one example. They give you 4 hours, so it's a timed exam. It's broken into 2 sections, and